This is an okay change. Basically, they made the yellow Mori base kit. You can choose to Mori the last survivor, or you can choose not to. And it also made it so any objects obstructing the Mori will fade away. That way you can still see the full Mori. You don't have to worry about a wall blocking the Mori anymore, which is great because that felt more like a bug. So that's a good quality of life change. However, these two perks, I cannot believe what they did to these perks. These perks were already incredibly strong when MFT was a thing, especially when paired with Hope and Blood Pact. And now they have almost no counterplay for the killer. So they made it so if you leave the range of being, you basically, when you heal someone, this activates and it makes both you and your teammate 5% faster, but only if you stay within 12 meters of each other. So they buffed it to 16 meters and they give you leeway. So if you get outside the 16 meters, you have a few seconds to get back inside the 16 meters. And before, this had a 140-second cooldown. That was 2 minutes and 20-second cooldown. And they removed the cooldown entirely. And they remove it, no longer deactivates when either survivor loses a health state, which means the entire chase until someone goes down, they are going to be moving 5% faster. Now you compare this with Blood Pact and this perk, and you're already, what is that, 7 plus 5? You're moving 112 movement speed. You're faster than range killers like Huntress, Deathslinger, and you're almost fast as every other killer in the game. And it's not going to be hard to do Blood Pact because you can use 4 other people and stuff like that. I personally don't have a problem with them removing the cooldown or increasing the range, but making it so it doesn't deactivate when the survivor loses a health state makes it so the entire chase the killer has to deal with survivors moving way faster than them, which I think is a really bad thing because now the killer has no counterplay to the 5% speed. They can, if those survivors just stick together the entire match, right? They can pump out gens, they can run perk like Prove Thyself, and when you find them, you can't chase either of them because they run away really quickly. This doesn't get affected by exhaustion, so exhaustion won't stop this. And I know people are like, yeah, but if two teammates are looping the killer, then that means there's not a lot of pressure on gens. Yeah, but if 2 teammates are looping the killer for 7 minutes, then those gens will be done even if there's only 2 people working on them, especially if they bring toolboxes or hyper focus stakeout or the new buffed quick gambit, which you'll see. Like, it's people taking protection hits is already powerful. People not being able to take any hits, no matter if they're in a group of 2 or not, is going to be just as powerful. And it'll be even stronger with this perk. Basically, they did the same thing to this perk, however, it hides scratch marks instead, and it also no longer deactivates when you lose a health state. So imagine being really quick, having no scratch marks. It's going to be kind of nutty. Now, corrective action, I thought this was a decent change, right? And now applies to survivors within 8 meters, so they don't have to be on the same objective as you. And prevented failed skill checks will now become great skill checks instead of good skill checks. This is great. However, someone mentioned that you can run stakeout, hyper focused, and then corrective action, and you can run it with your friend. And basically, you hit 4 great skill checks, and then you don't hit any skill checks in the future, and all of these tokens that you'll get, because if you hit the 4 greats from stakeout, that means you'll have 4 tokens, and your teammate can miss 4 skill checks, and that way you can get, what is that? Because it's 4 guaranteed from stakeout and then 4 guaranteed from corrective action, which means you'll be able to hit 8 guaranteed hyper-focused skill checks if you do this with a teammate, and you'll be able to give them to each other. Like, it's going to be an insane build. I probably will test out this build on the PTB just to see how fast it goes, but I don't know. I can't tell if this one's problematic or not. It seems more like a fun meme build, but hyper-focused stakeout is already really strong. Inner Focus, this is Hattie's perk. They increased the aura duration to 10 seconds, and they removed the range requirement. So this is good. You get to see the killer, but you had to be within 32 meters when survivor loses a health state. So now you can see the killer cross map, and you get to see their aura for 10 seconds. So this might actually be a pretty good perk. We're going to live forever. This buff is kind of insane, actually. Increased healing speed bonus to 150%. This is the fastest healing perk in the game now. In one perk slot, fastest healing perk. They also made it so the endurance effect no longer needs to be activated. You used to have to take a protection hit or get a safe unhook to get the endurance onto the person you're picking up, but now any person you pick up using this perk will have endurance. So it's like old Buckle Up, but for the person you're picking up. And if you're running Made for this, you'll also get the endurance. So if you run Made for this, We're Gonna Live Forever, you're basically gonna have old Buckle Up for the people. But it's not instant like for the people, so maybe it's not too bad, but I don't really know this seems like it'll be pretty instant. 150 is insane. They did add a cooldown to it. Um, I don't know what that will do. The poise rework, pretty decent. When you start repairing a generator, you see the killer's aura for 6 seconds. So they're buffing a lot of survivor like aura reading perks, which is great because there's not that many of them. This one didn't even have an aura reading effect. And then after you finish a gen, your scratch marks are invisible for 14 seconds. That can be really good for finishing the final generator. Now Blood Rush got pretty much a complete rework. So now it's an anti-tunnel perk, which is pretty interesting because we already have quite a few. But basically, after you get unhooked, it activates for 60 seconds, and what you can do, it gets canceled by doing, so it's like DS and off the record, it get canceled if you do a gen or whatever, and it also doesn't work in endgame. But basically what it does is it activates for 60 seconds, you can proc it, and then it basically lets you get your exhaustion back so you can sprint burst twice. So it's kind of nutty. It no longer heals you or provides the broken status effect. I don't know if you still need to be full health to activate it, because then it may be bad. But if you can activate this while you're injured, then it'll let you sprint burst or balance landing or live twice, and that will give you tons of distance. Imagine Blood Rush off the record DS. The killer spends forever catching you eating 2 lives from Blood Rush. And then they get hit and off the record, and then they get down and they got DS. And then like it's over, you know? Or you could even save your life for after you DS to get away. You could save one of your lives. It's gonna be pretty nutty. This perk I also think is gonna be problematic. When chased, see the auras of other survivors. So this lets you see everybody else on the map wide when you're getting chased. And it now has a 60-second cooldown upon losing a health state, but the trade-off is they've reduced the repair speed bonus but made it map wide. So anytime you're in chase, every survivor on your team will be doing gens 5% faster. And that stacks with Deja Vu, that stacks with Prove Myself, that stacks with Resilience, and everybody on the team could have this perk. So no matter who you chase, survivors are going to be able to rush the gens, basically. Because 5% stacks up, you know? 5% on all 3 survivors on the same gen, that's 15%, you know? So it's not just like, oh yeah, it's a 5% thing. I honestly think if they were to just keep it how it is now, because it's in a good spot now, just buff the repair speed so it is more situational, because having a map-wide effect for anything never works well. It never works well. I mean, they try to do that with Onryo, right? For example, Onryo had map-wide condemn. That was a very, very overpowered and brain dead rework, honestly, because people were playing Onryo AFK TPing and then we're winning games. And I think that's what this perk is going to do, basically, because you can pair it with Sprint Burst, and the intended counterplay for them is Quick Gambit. It's supposed to have a 60-second cooldown upon losing a health state, right? So the counterplay for the killer, if you injure the person with Quick Gambit, it deactivates for a minute, right? If they have Dramaturgy, Sprint Burst, Finesse, anything that works while you're full health to give you extra distance or to avoid getting a hit, this 5% will be lasting a while. And if they're already injured, it's going to be completely different, because then you have to deal with Dead Hard and stuff like that. And I don't think Dead Hard deactivates it because it puts you into the mending state. I'm not quite sure. Some interactions don't work like that. The one good thing here is Distortion finally got nerfed. Distortion no longer has tokens, and instead deactivates once used until the next time you're unchased. So basically, Distortion no longer has tokens, so basically you're going to be able to proc it at the start, see if they have Lethal Pursuer, and then the next time you get in chase, it'll activate again. I think this could go good with Sprint Burst now if you want to farm Distortion, because you can take chase, and a lot of killers will leave you if you Sprint Burst away from them, so you can just kind of farm them. And you sound... Are you a paid chatter? Who is this? This is someone. They finally... No, they nerfed Distortion. Distortion got buffed a while back, Kirby, and it made it, like, one of the best survival perks in the game. So now it's getting nerfed. Put your best looper on Quick Gambit and full anti-tunnel build, and it's GG. Yeah, basically. Be deadly, and yeah, Quick Gambit is gonna be meta. I don't know. The duration is also nice for countering a longer aura reading, so kind of like Friends to the End. This will actually counter Friends to the End with Lethal Pursuer, because the longest aura reading is 12 seconds. Now, Lucky Star, this will be good for head-on builds. When you hop into a locker, the entire time you're in the locker, you have Iron Will and no pools of blood. So this makes it so the killer has no idea where you are, you're completely silent in the locker, and you'll be able to actually get head-on when you're injured for once. And when you exit the locker, it also gives you Iron Will and no pools of blood for 10 seconds. So that's pretty cool. It no longer reveals the survivor's aura or generators, but that's okay. Now, killer perks, they're pretty good actually. Genetic Limits now is a direct counter to Dead Hard. Anytime a survivor loses a health state, they suffer from the exhaustion for 8 seconds. So basically, you injure someone 8 seconds, they won't go to Dead Hard unless they're able to walk for that duration, which is pretty interesting. Leverage is meant for basically countering Will Make It slightly and like countering healing under hook. I think there was a cooler thing they could have done with this perk, but 50% for 30 seconds is pretty slow. You pair that stuff with like Chlorophobia, it's pretty strong. So maybe not a bad perk anymore. Thwack actually has a really cool rework. I really like what they did to Thwack. Thwack now starts with 3 tokens. Gain 1 token upon hooking a survivor, and when breaking a pallet or breakable wall, consume 1 token to cause survivors within 24 meters to scream and reveal their location for 5 seconds. So, you don't have to worry about hooking someone and then breaking a pallet. Because before, if you hook someone and then you hooked another one, you still only got 1 thwack value. It just reset it. Now you can store your thwacks and use them on multiple pallets. The trade-off is they reduce the range of the survivor scream, but I think they should keep it how it was, because thwack was already such a niche perk. I don't think you need to make it... I don't think you need to compensate for a buff for it, you know? Machine learning no longer requires you to kick another generator and then kick something again, which was the most annoying part about machine learning. So now it just activates on the recent gen you kicked. It already got a huge buff recently, and it's a pretty good perk, so this will make it even better. Deathbound finally seeing tweaks since its release when Pyramid came out in 2020. It no longer has a distance requirement, so if you heal within any distance of the killer, then you will scream and become oblivious if you leave the range of the person you heal. So the killer sees where you are after the heal is complete, and you won't be able to hear their terror radius. The Deathbound no longer has a duration, and instead deactivates when the healer is hooked. Oh, wow. So it used to be when you left the person you healed, you would be oblivious for like 60 seconds. When you leave the heal, you're going to be oblivious permanently until you get hooked. And there's nothing you can do to get rid of it. That seems pretty good, right? That seems very powerful. Languid Touch is still better. Yeah, Languid Touch is the best exhaustion perk. Okay, Zancian Tactics, rip all the clown mains. They basically, when a survivor's within 6 meters of a drop pallet, and you're within 16 meters of that pallet, their aura is revealed for 10 seconds. It's actually kind of insane. So you no longer have the ability to see all the windows and pallets, but anytime a survivor's within inside of a pallet, or yeah, a drop pallet, you'll be able to see their aura for 10 seconds. That'll let you play around so many loops, because having 10 seconds of aura reading and you pair that with lethal for 12 seconds is going to be insane. Distortion will be a direct counter to this, though, because it works in chess now. Dead Man Switch. I honestly hate this rework. Even more aura reading. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, right? But they also buffed the survivor aura reading, so it seems like they're wanting to incentivize giving the survivors to... They want survivors to start using aura reading to counter it, rather than hiding the aura. Because there's no, like... there's still a large variety of survivor perks that reveal the killer's aura now. So Dead Man Switch only works on 1 generator now, but that 1 generator it works on is now 50 seconds. I think this is a horrible change, because the counterplay to Dead Man Switch now is when you know the killer has Dead Man Switch, you go up to a 0% gen, you tap it for a second and let go. Dead Man Switch blocks a 0 gen for 50 seconds, and the gens that are actually important, people just let go of until someone does that. A better change would be to just have it work on all generators, but reduce the duration to 30 seconds. But that's already how it works. So that's already... I don't know. I feel like Dead Man Switch was fine. I don't really know why they changed it. Blood Echo no longer has a cooldown, so you can use it anytime someone gets hooked. It causes exhaustion and hemorrhage for 30 seconds. I think this was also a niche perk. It didn't need to have that nerf as compensation. They could have kept the duration. Crowd Control gets a pretty significant buff. So the last 5 vaults which survivors rush are blocked by the entity, and this lasts until the Hex Totem is cleansed. So if they don't vault any more windows, that window will be blocked permanently instead of 60 seconds until the totem is gone, basically. which is insane, because that's even better than what it was. I never used that perk, so I don't know. When a survivor escapes a chase, reveal their aura for 6 seconds. This perk goes on cooldown for 40 seconds. I like this rework to Predator. It could be good for farming, play their food stacks or something, but the cooldown being 40 seconds seems pretty unnecessary. You could probably... that could be like 5 seconds and it would still be okay. Now this is the worst part of the update, right? Skull Merchant. Skull Merchant has been hated by the community since her release, and they do have a rework plan for her in 2025, but it seems like for the time being, they want to absolutely butcher her and make her completely useless until that rework happens. And I just think if you're going to do that, you're better off just leaving her how she is until you give her her planned rework than releasing whatever this is, because there are people who have bought her skins and spent time P100ing this killer, and it feels like pure robbery to them, honestly. This feels like you pay to buy, like, a character you really like, and they nerf it to the point where it is literally unplayable. I think this is a horrible change. But basically, hindered penalty when scanned by a drone decreased down to 5%, was 10. The Skull Merchant no longer gains haste when scanning a survivor, so that was her whole chase potential is dead there. Reduce the number of drone scan lines to 1, was 2. So now instead of having 2 beams on her drone, she has 1, which means it's going to be really slow. And they're always in their active state. And their one step of compensating this was they're now invisible beyond 16 meters. But when you get close to it, you're going to be able to see it still. And no one's going to get hit by a single scanning array of drone, especially when you can crouch or walk over it. Like, it's actually... it's actually insane. I don't know what their thought process was here, but they basically kept the free health state that you get from applying a Cloud Trap, and they kept the undetectable, which I thought were the most annoying parts, right? Her having haste and slowdown literally just makes her similar to Clown, right? And Clown just does it better because his slowdown and his haste is already way better. Because his bottles are 15%. Hers was only 10% slow. So she was just like Clown, but weaker with more map control. So she was like a different version. But now she's just Freddy with base kit meme Freddy Brownout on that reduces the speed hindrance by 5%. And she has no power, no map like control anymore. She has no way to teleport across the map like Freddy. This makes her the worst killer in the game. She went from Skull to... No, this is like the Skull Merchant to Dull Merchant. Like, she's not, she's nothing now. Quick Gambit is gonna be... is just actually overpowered. Like, a 4-stack running Quick Gambit means anytime you're chasing someone, gens are going to be sped up, which is ridiculous, I think. Hillbilly. I've been yapping too much, chat. Hillbilly. I think he needed these changes. Hillbilly, I was a contender of playing Hillbilly before they changed him to begin with. Before they nerfed him, I played Crackbilly, I played him in the nerfed version, and I played him in his buffed version. But I stopped playing him and prestiging him during this buffed version because he felt so good and so overtuned that it just wasn't fun to play anymore. I love looping Billies still, but it's just not fun to play him anymore. And so I'm hoping this will make him more fun to play, and because maybe less people who kind of just are brain dead. Speed, like the speed was ridiculous. Speed with the pink add-on, being able to just, you went so fast you almost couldn't even see him with the overdrive plus speed add-on. Like, I was watching a clip the other day of someone doing a curve shot with Hillbilly, and he ended up on the other side, and like there was no animation. It's like he phased like a spirit. So I think he definitely needed these speed down tunes. Um, Overdrive starts dissipating 8 seconds after you're not doing any speeding or revving. I think this is fine. This won't affect him that much. The biggest change here is they decreased the overdrive movement speed to 11.5 meters per second, was 13 meters per second. I think this is a good change, especially if they're not going to be nerfing the Eerie add-on, because he was really quick and it was almost unreactable. So this will be nice. I think this might make some people more reliant on the pink speed add-on, but we'll see. They also decreased overcharge. Maybe they could make the pink add-on like a purple or something lower rarity then to compensate for this, but I don't know. They also decreased overdrive charges gained while revving. So basically, if you're revving and you're sprinting, it charges overdrive. So they reduced the rate at which it charges now by basically like 25%. And they also increased the missed attack cooldown to 2.7 seconds, was 2.5. So he's going to be way better or way worse at zoning survivors, which I think is even better, because that was one of his biggest issues when he first got buffed, and then they nerfed that. Now twins. Personally, these two characters, I main Unknown is one of my P100 characters, and Twins is one on the way. I was hoping to see some good quality of life buffs for Twins, but they kind of just threw in a Twins nerf again out of nowhere. Increased Victor's cooldown when crushed to 20 seconds was 15. I'm okay with that change. Increased cooldown after Victor downs his survivor to 3.2 seconds was 2.7. That even still feels fine, right? That still feels fine, because Victor's cooldown used to be 5 seconds, and it was the most clunky and like ridiculous cooldown ever. You were just standing there like walking like this for an extra 2 seconds, 2 seconds more than you should be. So adding the half a second isn't the worst thing, but to compensate for this, they should do the thing that a lot of the Twins players were asking for when they originally released her after the rework. Not in the PTB, because PTB was broken, but when she was released, you could recall Victor 10 seconds after it was attached to somebody to prevent people from holding your power, and then everyone was like, yeah, it's a little too short, maybe make it 20 seconds, like double it, but they tripled it to 30 seconds, which was just so much over nerf for the Twins. I think alongside these changes, the cooldown for calling back Victor should be 20 seconds. Put it in the middle. 10 was too short, 30 is too much. 20 is the clear even point. I mean, that's what they did with DS. 3 seconds was too short, 5 was too much, 4 was the sweet spot. I think 20 seconds is going to be the sweet spot for being able to recall Victor from someone's back. And I also hope they fix those add-ons, because there's add-ons where if you recall Victor, or there's an add-on where if the survivor gets rid of Victor, it applies like broken a status effect or mangled, but it doesn't work if you recall him yourself, and most survivors will never get rid of Victor. You're forced to recall him, so those add-ons are useless because survivors never get rid of Victor anymore. So they should work when you recall Victor. Unknown, he didn't get any nerfs. He got some quality of life stuff, but he didn't get any of the quality of life stuff that so many Unknown players were asking for. Like, there were, like, Revium, myself, Harry, I've asked a bunch of other Skull Merchant, or not Skull Merchant, Unknown players, who I believe they're all P100 as well, who have spent a lot of time playing this killer, what their #1 change they'd like to see for the Unknown, and it was faster projectile speed. I saw a clip the other day where the UVX was in the air for the entire time, like it was all the way up over here, and the survivors were like right here. And even when it was right here, the survivors were still healing. They finished the heal and were able to walk away, like split up, right as it landed. So the entire time it was traveling, they didn't have to worry about reacting, because there's just so much reaction time with how slow the UVX orb is. So by having it be that slow, it's almost impossible to hit anybody who's paying attention. And it makes him a incredibly short range killer. And even when you are short range, if it's too short range, you can't even look down enough to shoot them because you have a limited view. So you can't shoot people who are in front of you, and you can't shoot people who are too far away. So he has like a sweet spot that is just incredibly easy for the survivors to get out of and make it hard to hit your ability at all. I think they need to increase the speed of the UVX to make it more viable, because now that Unknown's been out for so long, people are dodging it left and right like it's nothing. Like after playing hundreds of hours of Unknown, people are dodging my UVX no matter what I'm doing anymore, and it's just becoming more frustrating than it was fun. At first, it was fun because you could hit some cool shots, but anybody that's paying attention with half a brain cell can dodge it now, and like you don't even have to dedicate all of your brain cells to do anything. Um, but basically, the HUD update, they have it so it displays a teleport cooldown and a hallucination spawn time, so you don't have to rely on the little yellow and purple stuff on the side of the screen to know when a hallucination is going to spawn, and it also has a cooldown so you can know when your teleport's going to be back up. I think that's nice. Um, Movement speed now decreases sooner when try. Oh, so this is actually a nerf to him. If you try to zone people by faking your UVX, you will start getting slowed down. And the only reason people tried faking it was to prevent hallucinations from spawning, because if you held out your thing and you like clicked it really quick, it would stop hallucinations from spawning. I don't know why they needed to nerf that. Um, Very interesting. They gave Blurry Photo 15% base kit, and I'm assuming they nerfed Blurry Photo. That is a nice change, but there's so many other changes that they could have done. Uh, they obviously adjusted Blurry Photo, but they also nerfed Vanishing Box, so where it makes your hallucinations take longer to spawn. So I don't know. I don't think the Vanishing Box needed a nerf. Maybe if it was a yellow add-on, it would be worthy, but most of half of his add-ons are completely useless, so I wanted to see like some add-on reworks and stuff that would be
People
interesting.
just didn't like his giant being shown so many times. That's what that nerf was for.
Yeah, I'm sure. Um, they improve visual and audio feedback when using UVX. I'm not quite sure what that means, but none of these changes are what we were talking about. My suggestion changes for the Unknown were let him look down further so survivors can't just run right in front of you. You physically can't hit them with UVX. Um, Make it so UVX cooldown, instead of it being 6 seconds, it's 5 seconds or 4, something like that. Add 2.5 seconds to the weaken timer, so it's 12.5 seconds instead of 10. Like, those things combined would be incredibly strong, but the biggest one is increasing projectile movement speed, so he has more viability with it. Because right now, his strongest kit is his hallucinations, you know? And they basically just buffed his hallucinations, which were already strong, and they didn't do anything about the UVX, which was, you know, the part that needed it the most. And then it just ends there. Um, Overall, what I can say is I like some of the these perk buffs are great. This one might be problematic. This one's great. This one is an anti-tunnel perk. This one's probably going to be problematic. Distortion will be fine. Lucky Star will be fine. These two Survivor speed perks will probably be problematic. The base kit Mori doesn't really mean anything. It's literally just a yellow Mori base kit. Uh, this perk will be fine. Fine. Thwack will be fine. Machine Learning, Deathbound. This one might actually be problematic. This one, 10 seconds of overreading at any drop pallet, and it doesn't have a cooldown listed. Seems kind of concerning. This perk was ruined. This perk didn't need the nerf. This perk's gonna be strong. They horrible, like they butchered Skull Merchant. I have this pulled up right here. This is someone who made an hour and like 40-minute Skull Merchant guide. They spent forever teaching people how to make Skull Merchant, and this is the justice they do to her. And this guy just says it's not a nerf, it's a public execution, which is what I agree with entirely. Like they just killed Skull Merchant without any compensation buffs. Like I haven't seen them do something like this forever. Like where they they nerf killers, but they give them something to make them still viable. But they just didn't do that with her. Um, Someone saying because whiny bitches couldn't handle a B tier killer at best. That's a little extreme. Um, but I mean, she was a B tier killer, so I definitely don't think she needed this treatment. Billy was like A plus tier, so he definitely needed a treatment like that. Uh,
Imagine poised in a 4-stack, they already know who the killer is at the start of the match and exactly where they are.
yeah, poised will be pretty good. I don't think that's gonna be problematic though. The hillbilly changes are probably the one good killer change. Um, I I think this is a great change. This was horrible. Twins tweaks just disappointing. Unknown changes disappointing. Overall, probably one of my least favorite patches.